It had to have been a very depressing scene to be among the disciples on the day after the crucifixion. These men who were so filled with energy and love and hope and promise with their leader Jesus now were discouraged, confused, and despondent. Even though they knew that his death would be coming, as he had told them many, many times, they were stunned. Did it really happen? And it did. As the scriptures tell us, on that day after, they had no more hope, no more direction, and so many of them began plans to go back to their former livelihoods. It was a very depressing scene. But the next day, everything changed. Something extraordinary had happened. The tomb was empty. Jesus was making appearances here and there and everywhere. And they saw him in different forms. Physically, they looked at him and he was there as a physical being. Then they saw him in other forms, a manifestation of the Spirit, so that he was physical. Those two people walking to Emmaus, as Jesus fell into step with them, they didn't recognize him for a long time. But he was there. He met them as he came through the walls in the upper room. He met them in different places, having breakfast with them on the beach on the Sea of Galilee one morning. He was there. So powerful was his presence, so enormously powerful was his presence, that in the next weeks and months of their lives, they got refocused, they had purpose, and they went around, these people who had been confused for so long with Jesus, they went ahead and they told the story. Every single one of them, to his dying day, told the story of Jesus and the resurrection. And they began to change the world as the resurrection story passed through the entire Roman Empire, eventually into Europe and all over the world. They couldn't believe it when he had died, but they were stunned into a glory when he continued to live. This man who could do anything, who was a great healer, there was no disease that he couldn't heal, who was a great teacher who would gather thousands of people, get them on a hillside, and hold their attention for long moments of time as he taught. He was clairvoyant, able to determine what was going on in distant places when people were ill or in trouble. He was an extraordinary presence. And now they had the chance to tell the story with excitement, with fervor. And the fact that their lives had been changed enabled them to be the vehicles for changing other people's lives as well. Where do I go with the rest of this Easter story? Do I talk about the two Marys who went to the tomb and discovered the tomb empty? I could, and I have. Do I talk about the two men walking to Emmaus and the experience that they had and what it must have been like? I could, and I have. Could I talk about the confused disciples and specifically how some of them changed? I could, and I have. But for the rest of the moments I have with you today, I'm going to answer a question asked by a woman named Margaret, who sat over here for many, many years before her death. And one day she said to me, "Arthur, what about Tuesday?" And I said, "Margaret, what do you mean, what about Tuesday?" She said, "I come here to worship and I have enough energy and direction and light to get through Sunday and Monday. And when I get into Tuesday, I need an uplift. Give me something that will help me through Tuesday and the rest of the week." And so, Margaret, my friend, this is to you for the rest of the week. And what is it that I offer? There's one word that has become magic in my life as regards Easter. And it happened to me a number of years ago when I was reading the Saturday ads in the New York Times, the ads for the churches. I looked at it yesterday. I look at it every Easter Saturday. And what you see on the left-hand side is a great big ad by Riverside Church. On the opposite side, a great big ad by Trinity Wall Street, Church of the Resurrection, St. John the Divine, and then Marble has a very large ad there as well. And I read through them to see what people are doing and talking about. But there was one ad that happened a number of years ago at Fifth Avenue Presbyterian Church under the leadership of Dr. Brian Kirkland. I'd like to think that Dr. Kirkland was the one who conceived this idea. It was an ad in the middle of the page. It wasn't very big, maybe 2 inches square, maybe 3 inches square. There was a dark gray background. And in bold letters in white was the word hope. And something about seeing that ad got to me. Yes, that is what Easter is all about. Easter is all about hope. H-O-P-E, hope. That God can take the worst circumstance, the most evil, the most tragic thing that could ever happen to any human being or groups of human beings. He can take the worst and out of it make something beautiful and wonderful and great, which is exactly what Jesus did with Good Friday, Holy Saturday as we call it, and Easter Sunday. Easter is all about hope. And many of you remember Dr. Bernie Siegel, spoke here several times. Dr. Siegel was a physician on the Yale faculty, New Haven, Connecticut, and wrote, it was a holistic medicine person. A great doctor and a great person for writing about inspirational ways to get well. Very encouraging. And one night we were having dinner before he was to give a talk here in the sanctuary, and he pulled me off into a corner before the meal, and he said, Arthur, I've got to tell you something. He said, I just heard from a black preacher friend these words. After Friday comes Sunday. Did you hear it, Arthur? After Friday, he said, comes Sunday. And a third time, Bernie Siegel said, Arthur, after Friday comes Sunday. Which means that after every Good Friday experience any one of us have, after any tough time, after any difficulty, after any struggle, after any great loss, after any great disappointment or frustration, comes Sunday. After Friday comes Sunday. After your Good Friday experience, after mine, comes the resurrection of Easter Sunday. And a specific on how to do that. And that is employ the 3-day rule. You know what the 3-day rule is? When you have a major decision to make, when you're dealing with something very difficult, don't get overly upset and anxious. Don't be defeated by it. Don't be put down. Don't be underground by it. Have hope, because Friday turns into Monday. The 3-day rule, if Judas, brilliant man, treasurer of that band of disciples, if Judas had waited one more day, he would have had a phenomenal life for the rest of his years. So, employ the 3-day rule. There are many references in the Bible to waiting on God. And maybe the most well-known and most exciting is found in Isaiah 14. Those who wait upon the Lord, those who wait for God, what happens? They shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like the eagle. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Wait on the Lord. It may be longer than 3 days. It may be 3 months. It may be 3 years. But continue to wait. And as you wait, to hope. I'll tell you a story which is a parable, really. It happened a number of years ago when I had a little boat for a family that I used to run about in. Some of my happiest memories, looking back now, are the days that I had that boat and would scoot around the bay, Casco Bay, on the coast of Maine. I love that boat. And one May, in the middle of the month, I went up to Maine to see my younger son, who worked there as a ferry boat captain, and to get my boat into the water. That particular year, that winter, we left the boat in a boatyard about 12 miles up the coast from Portland. My son said it'd be a lot cheaper, Dad, than these boatyards here around the city of Portland. So I left it up there, Falmouth, Maine, in a little river community called Royal River. Got the boat out, was very, very happy. Couldn't wait to go across to the island, to the family cottage. Before I left, which was about 5 in the afternoon, I called my son. I said, Chuck, I'm leaving now. If I'm not there in 45 minutes or an hour, and I said facetiously, call the Coast Guard. So I got on the boat, really excited, and started on my way. The Royal River is very, very shallow, and there are sticks which indicate the channel that you follow to get through the river and into the bay. And I went slowly, and when I got to a place, there were sticks that went this way and sticks that went that way. Since I was going to be going off to the right this way, I followed those sticks. And before long, there were no more sticks. And I was stuck in the mud. If you've ever been in a little boat in the mud, when you're stuck in the mud, you are stuck in the mud. I couldn't back up. I couldn't get the engine to do anything. So I sat there. I should have taken the sticks that went off that way. What was I going to do? It was the day before cell phones. I didn't have a marine radio with me. Always I carry a book. I didn't have a book. I didn't have a pen or a piece of paper. I figured, well, the tide is coming in. I'll be here just a few minutes and I'll be on my way. But the tide wasn't coming in. The tide was still going out. And if you know anything about the Maine coast, the tides there are very long tides. And so I sat, and I had to get comfortable with myself. I found myself thinking, praying, enjoying the scenery. Couldn't do anything else. And I began to get comfortable with myself. I was waiting for the tide to change. But an hour after I had been there stuck in the mud, I heard a helicopter. And I said, no, he didn't. The helicopter kept right on going over me. At about 7:30, 7:45, I did have a watch. 7:30, 7:45, the sun was going down, and I saw in the distance, 3/4 of a mile or a mile away, a flashing blue light, around and around. And I looked closely, and it was a Coast Guard boat. He had called the Coast Guard. And I saw somebody, one of the Coast Guardsmen, get on the bow of his boat, and he waved his hands like this to let me know that they would be there and waiting for me. At about 9:15, there was enough water for me to refloat the boat, and I was on my way. I got to the Coast Guard boat, and I said, thanks so much for staying with me. They said, where are you going? I said, to Long Island. They said, we'll lead you. And I followed them, because in the daytime, I would know my way, but at night, I had no idea where I was and how to get there. And so I followed them. At one point, I felt very cocky and very sure of myself and thought that I could make it on my own, so I pulled off and went that way. The Coast Guard boat circled around me. I said, follow me. And I followed him. What's this a parable about? It's about waiting, being patient. Those who wait for the Lord will renew their strength. 40th Psalm. I waited for the Lord. The Lord inclined toward me and heard my cry. It may take a long time, but as you wait, you keep hoping and hoping and hoping. You keep hoping and hoping. One of Jesus' strongest statements was this statement where he said, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can say to those mountains over there, move, and they will move. I want to take a little poetic license. If you have hope as big as a mustard seed, you can get through anything. And then eventually you'll get to the mountain. But you have to have hope to get to the mountain before you can move the mountain. So hope is a powerful thing. Incredibly powerful thing. Hope gets us from here to there. It gets us from today until tomorrow. Even the thinnest thread, you hold on to hope. You hold on to the Easter hope. And God is always active in the background and the foreground through the process of doing what God needs to do to help you get to the next place. But God depends on hope for that to happen. 2 years ago, I was invited to a birthday party, a 59th birthday party of a woman called Susan Fisher. And Susan has given me permission to use the story. She's an elder of the church, until recently was the treasurer, and sitting off to my right in the elder's pew. When Susan was 41 years old, she had cancer. And she licked the cancer. She overcame it. And for 10 years, it was behind her. And you know, usually after 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, you feel pretty comfortable that you've beaten the cancer and it's behind you forever and ever. But 10 years later, the cancer came back. And the cancer has kept coming back in different forms, in different ways, ever since then. And Susan has had a major, major challenge. I talk with her maybe 2-3 times a week. We chat, and she's the kind of person that I can say, how are you doing? And she'll say, well, I'm having a good day. Or if she's having a lousy day, she'll say, Arthur, I'm having a lousy day. But I'll know in that conversation that she's not going to have a long litany of all the aches and pains and frustrations of being sick. She'll just tell me that I'm not feeling good, and then I can say the same to her. And I don't have a long litany. If I'm not feeling good, I'll say, Susan, I'm not going to fool you. I don't feel good today. Or I feel great. We have that kind of a relationship in talking. Anyway, I said I had been invited to her 59th birthday party. And when she was asked why 59, she said, because I don't know that I'll be alive for my 60th birthday party. She celebrated her 61st earlier this week, and she's still going strong. What happened 2 years ago is they ran out of, she goes to Sloan Kettering, which is the best cancer center you can find anywhere. And they had run out of drugs that would meet her needs. And then there came a drug on the scene which they wanted to try on her. And it worked. It doesn't work today. It worked for a while until they could get other drugs and combinations of drugs, new ones and old ones and so forth. And so they keep doing this. And Susan keeps herself going with faith, yes, but also by hoping that she can get from one day to the next. I don't know anybody else in this life who lives as much in the moment, who lives as much in the present as Susan Fisher. And at that birthday party that night, she had 166 people. 166. She keeps in touch with people. From the very beginning of her life, through various jobs that she's had, the church relationship, other friendships that she's had. And every one of us was there that night, and it was exciting to be there. There was nobody who said, I came only because I had to come. No. We all wanted to be there. We wanted to be there because of the glow in this woman's life, the glow of faith and the glow of a continuing hope. And she told me this week about a group at Sloan Kettering that she has been a part of for a long time, a mixed group of men and women who are cancer survivors. And she said, out of that group, we learned the thing that there is no such thing. Hear me now, listen to me. There is no such thing as false hope. We all hear people criticize us for having hope and false hope. But she said there is no such thing. And told the story of one woman who had cancer that had gone all the way around her spine. And there was nothing else they could do. That was it. She kept hoping. Because you know, if hope goes, everything goes. Hope is the last thing that we have. And she held on to hope. A new drug appeared on the scene. Never been used on any human being before. And it was used on her. That was something like 30 years ago. And she's still alive today. No such thing as false hope. What is Easter all about? After Friday comes Sunday. What is Easter all about? It's all about the resurrection. God taking the worst things that can happen, the worst things that are with us, and making it into something beautiful. That is what your life plan is. Hold on to hope. And one last thing. I have in my office upstairs a sign which is about a foot long, sent to me by June LaBelle, a member of this church who for many years was an announcer with WQXR radio. And she retired and went down to Sarasota, Florida. Was in a gift shop one day and saw this sign, which she sent to me. It said, it was by Winston Churchill, never, never, never give up. And then recently, when I was going through a difficult period, and I was really down, Mamie McIndoe, member of the staff here at Marble Church, sent me this card. And I keep it by my side all the time. Never, never, never give up. Gracious God, who gives us everything, who believes in us, and gives us the gift of hope. We ask that we might be sustained by hope and transformed and brought to the new day and the new day and the Sunday. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.